Here's 10 must-knows before you travel to Tbilisi. Number 1 is make sure you download the Bolt app before you arrive. So the first thing that you're going to experience once you grab your luggage and you walk outside of the airport, you're going to be swarmed by people asking if you want a taxi. Do not get in the taxi with them. They're going to overcharge you substantially. I've seen reports of people on the expat forums say that they've been charged over $200 for a taxi, which is about 20 minutes away. The Bolt app is a very simple app. It's just like an Uber. It's very easy to set up. You can set up with a foreign bank account. Make sure you download it before you arrive. And then just use it like Uber. And then just call a taxi. Just be aware that at the airport, there's only one specific, well, technically there's 2 specific locations that you can be picked up from. So they're going to expect you exactly at that spot. But keep an eye out for them because they might have to pull out somewhere else. Number 2 is pay for an eSIM before you arrive. This will make your life a lot simpler when you arrive, so you don't have to worry about internet. If your phone doesn't have internet, there is a MagT store at the airport. I'll show you a picture of it here. Essentially, MagT is one of the biggest providers of phone and internet. So you can just get a SIM card there. Some people would tell you not to buy it at the airport to save a couple of dollars. Just buy it at the airport, make your life simple. So when you go outside of the airport, you can actually find the bolts that you've just ordered. Because the second that you walk outside of that airport, you're going to lose internet and it's going to be very difficult finding them. Number 3 is the level of English is rather low here. Can people say yes, no, hello? Of course, but in general, you're going to have a harder time to actually communicate with people, especially outside of the Old Town area. The restaurants and the places that are more targeted towards Westerners or foreigners, then yes, they will definitely speak English, but the levels will be varied. If you're struggling to communicate with someone, Google Translate does a terrible job. What you need to do is go to Yandex Translate. I'll put a link in the description and just download that app. I've found that that is the best way to actually communicate from English to Georgian and Georgian to English. So this is what I do sometimes when I speak to Georgians is I just use the app, open it up and I just talk to it and it does a rather good job. If you want to learn a couple of basic Georgian words just to make your life easier and just be a bit more polite and respectful to the culture. So hello is Gama Joba. Yes is Diak. If that's too hard, you can just say ki. No is ara or ara. And goodbye is kargad. Number 4 is if you're here for over a week, week and a half, is definitely set up a bank account here. It's very simple. All you need is your passport. You'll just go in for about 20 minutes and set up a bank account. I have a whole video on this already. I'll link it in the description as well. Just go and watch that. That'll go over everything. Got to do with bank accounts, but it has US dollars, euros, Lari and British pounds, and it's one of the best banking systems in the world. It's very simple. It won't take you long to set up a bank account. Number 5, customer service is terrible here. So I've been over 30 countries in the world, and this is by far the worst country for customer service. Nothing even comes close. You'll probably notice this straight away when you arrive in the airport. The security will be looking on their phone. You go up to the customs agent. They will just give you a very sour face, not interested. That's just how people are here in public. They're not the most polite people when it comes to customer service. So you just have to temper your expectations. Don't be surprised when someone rolls their eyes at you, doesn't come up to you when you want to order, just generally doesn't want to do their job. That's just normal here and you just have to accept that. There are obviously higher end places which do put a lot more emphasis, but in general, it's pretty poor. Is use the metro. It's one of the simplest metros in the world. So all you need to do is you basically go to one of the metro lines. You can go into Google Maps and just type in metro wherever and just walk to it. They're normally underground, so just be prepared. They're not on top of the ground, except for in some areas such as where I am. So you just go down and there'll be a little booth and you'll see people standing outside a booth and you pay, I'm not sure off the top of my head, about 10 lari for a card, 5 or 10 lari, which is a couple of dollars. And then you need to give them cash to put money onto the card at that same booth, and it only costs 1 lari to get onto the train. Now the metro is very simple. It is in English as well, and it only goes in 2 directions, of course, but there's only 2 train lines. So one train line is the big train line that goes down to all the touristy areas, and that's probably the one you'll use the most. There is another one called the Sabatello Metro, and that one's simple. All you need to do is get off at Station Square and follow all the people up the stairs, and then you'll go to the other metro. And be aware that all the metro stops are actually verbally said on the train itself, so you don't need to worry about that. It will be in English. Number 7, safety. Just be aware that it is an incredibly safe place, but there are scams. Like everywhere else in the world, there are scams. So the typical ones are the taxi scams. I kind of touched on it already, but never get in a taxi. Always use the app, so that's a simple one to get around. There are petty crimes such as stealing, especially by little kids in the Old Town area. There's actually quite a few of them. So if you ever go around that section, the really touristy Liberty Square area, just make sure you put all your hands on your belongings. These kids will grab onto your legs and they won't let you go. You just got to push and just go through them and ignore them. I'll make a whole video on scams though anyway, so I won't talk too much on it here. Just be aware, be street smart, and you'll be fine. Number 8 is avoid the big tourist area. So there's quite a few touristy areas here in Tbilisi, but there's one in particular that I'm talking about, which I'm showing on the screen right now. Avoid this place as much as you can. It is the most extreme ripoff in Tbilisi. They will charge you 4 to 5 times the price as any other tourist area for that fact. Just stay away from there. It is a very beautiful area and it's very nice. There's a good rule of thumb is that service is terrible here. So if there's anyone outside a restaurant trying to pull you in, it's a tourist scam and the prices will be insane. So typically no one's going to go out of their way to get business here. So if they're trying to pull you in to get business, there's a reason for it. Stay away. Number 9 is tipping culture. So there isn't as much of a tipping culture here. I personally always tip, but in a lot of restaurants, especially the more higher end restaurants that already have a service fee included, it's typically 10 to 20% depending on the place. 20% on the very high end, but it's normally about 10 to 15%. So if that's included, you don't obviously have to tip. But in general, if you do want to tip, is typically what I would do is 5 lari for good service, or 10 lari for extremely good service. Of course, you can do 10, 20%, but normally 10 lari is always the highest. I've spoken to my Georgian friends about this, and that's normally what they've always said, about 5 to 10. So you don't need to go excessive with the tipping. Of course, if you feel like you've had really good service, I mean, I've tipped up to 80 to 90 lari before. If the service is that good, I would love to reward people because it's not very common here. So that's up to you, but don't feel bad if you don't even tip at all. Number 10 is Google Maps isn't accurate. Now this is very important. You've got to make sure that you understand this, especially if you've never been here before and you've got an Airbnb booked. It's very important that you actually contact the owner and you ask for them to show exactly on the map on Google Maps where it is. And the reason for that is, for example, my place that I'm in at the moment is if I put in my address, it will actually send me about 15 minutes down the road. It's not actually the address here. Google Maps does a terrible job at it. So sometimes if you put it into your Bolt app or wherever, it will send you somewhere completely different. So make sure you get the exact location and then just go on the Bolt app location and just move the icon, the delivery, like where you're going to get dropped off icon to exactly where they said, because that's going to be the spot. It's not going to be the number that you type in Google or Bolt. 9 times out of 10, it will send you somewhere completely different. Google Maps is not very widely used. Same with websites here. So most things are done through Facebook, and Google Maps is just a side. It's kind of just a guess. So if you ever see something on Google Maps, the location, it might not be there at all. And if it is, it's in that vicinity, and you just have to look around, especially if you're going to these little hidden secret spots, a lot of these Instagram-y kind of spots. You're going to have to look around, and they might be in this really old building and there's not much signage. You're just going to have to look and just try to work it out. So 11 is subscribe to my channel. So I've lived here for 3 years and I've had a lot of highs, a lot of lows here. I've learned a lot, and I'm just passing all the information I can through a Living in Tbilisi playlist. So it will be the most in-depth playlist that you will see on YouTube. So just go through, subscribe, and go through all my content related by Tbilisi, and I'll explain everything. If you've got any suggestions, please put them in the comments below, and then I'll probably make a video on that as well. If not, just respond to you and answer your question. Thank you for watching.